Hi Fox, how you doing? The last game of this round in Norway 2014 chess tournament was the one between Magnus Carlsen with white pieces and Levon Aronian with black pieces, world number 1 and world champion against world number 2. Really unexpected battle, and it didn't brought people down. It was a really hard fought game, very exhausting and a long one, which demanded absolutely all the chess skills of both players. They've been playing for more than 6, 7, 8, maybe even 8 hours. I don't know. Really an impressive battle on the chessboard. Let us see how did it go. Carlsen is white. He's playing d4, and Levon tries to reach an Imzo-Indian defense. Knight f3, d5. We're reaching a queen's gambit. Now Carlsen playing more and more common openings these days, leaving behind him strange setups. Bishop b4. We see the Ragozin kind of defense. Very common stuff. C takes, bishop g5. And h6. After bishop h4, knight bd7. This is very theoretical. e3 and g5. Very aggressive approach by black. Bishop g3, and the knight goes to e4, putting pressure on c3, attacking also the bishop on g3. In fact, well, Levon Aronian, for instance, had played this line just to saying last year in 2013 World Cup to beat a lower rated GM from Russia. So of course this is very well known between GMs. And knight d2, just similar to one of the games of last round. White in the game between Topalov Carlsen, White is offering a pawn sacrifice on c3, but Aronian doesn't take it. I mean, it's probably playable. Black can play bishop takes, but after rook c1, for instance, bishop a5, White has a very easy way of compensating his pawn, playing h4, bishop d3, getting all his pieces out very quickly, and this might be a really dangerous position for Black. Instead, Levon just takes the bishop pair with knight takes g3. And here, a little bit strangely, Carlsen takes with the f-pawn. Somehow anti-natural move, looking a little weird because you're creating voluntarily 3 pawn islands, creating a rather useless 3 against these kingside pawns, a weak backward e3 pawn. I don't know, it seems a little bit weird, but that's what the world champion played here. Now knight b6, getting out of the way of the bishop. Bishop d3, queen e7 is attacking the weakness of white here. Queen f3, bishop e6, and now Magnus makes this bishop decide what he's going to do. Aronian takes on c3. Maybe this g4 intermediate move attacking the queen was possible or useful. Was a possibility, certainly. Bishop takes, b takes in any case was played, and Aronian castles queenside and certainly has equalized. All these pieces are developed. He's already castled, doesn't have that great weaknesses, and has a really healthy, solid position. Carlsen goes for the somehow speculative queenside attack with the king still in the center, a4. Bishop d7, a very wise move. The point is that not only it's attacking the pawn on a4, but more important, it is controlling very well the a4 square, so that after a5 the knight can jump there. And really, although it's on the rim, the edge of the board, this knight is really looking good in the center of the action right now, attacking the weak c3 pawn. a6 is what Carlsen plays, keeps pushing his pawn. Now rook h e8. Levon just doesn't care about that pawn. If a takes b7 in any moment, well, of course he's not going to take it. King b8, and this pawn serves him as protection, and really nothing is going on in this queenside. It is black who has the initiative in the center with this king, with this weak e3 pawn. So Carlsen plays the king f2 move, now protecting e3 with both the queen and the king. And after king b8, really a big blunder would be here. Of course, you're not expecting to see this from top GMs, but it's interesting to see that a takes b7 is losing the game thanks to this really nice resource that black has. Bishop g4, and this is losing either the queen or already being checkmated. The point is that e3 is very weak, and if white takes, queen takes e3 check, and well, this really smells very bad for white. For instance, king f1, queen takes d3 with check, if king g1, another check, and black can take, for instance, c3, bringing the knight into the attack, and really this king is really in a suicidal mode here. But of course, Carlsen prevented that with rook h1. Now black can take on c3, a takes on b7, and here white's idea could be related with trying to play knight b3 c5, and if he can protect this pawn with a rook here, of course this is a long way to go. He could try to checkmate black with the knight from a6. I mean, though of course not so easy to achieve that, but this could be a very long-term plan tactics, and that's why Aronian plays this queen b4 move, most probably to stop this knight from jumping to b3, and sensing that there is no danger for the queen here in the queen side. In fact, it is really white who must be careful, because the queen can get in and really cause some problems. That's what Carlsen does. He prevents problems with the king going to g1, castling manually. Queen b2, attacking the knight, and the knight must retreat to f1 and f5. Now really very nice position for black here. Probably not winning, but really a very solid, very healthy one. White hasn't achieved any attack on the queen side. Meanwhile, black has good looking pawns here, very aggressive against this king side. White has this very weak pawn and not a great coordination with his pieces. Rook a5, a maneuver that Carlsen later said on the press conference that was a little weird. Wasn't really satisfied with this maneuver. Bishop f4, coming here probably to try to get in through this light square diagonal. Rook c5, and now rook f8 protects the pawn on f5. h3, white is trying to stop this pawn from advancing in a very dangerous way. Rook f6, knight h2. The trap is to try to go knight g4, taking advantage of this pin. I mean, if black just plays a move like a6, nothing. Knight g4 would untie white's position, as this pawn cannot take. The rook is hanging, and there is a double attack on the rook and the pawn, so this is great relief for white. But of course, black just can protect that pawn. Rook df8, and this knight is right now kind of a piece of decoration, like he cannot do almost anything. Queen f1 is what Carlsen decides to play to try to relocate that poor knight to f3, later to e5. That would be another story. If the knight goes to e5, that would be a really great piece there. But now knight e4, putting his own knight in a very great place. Rook e2, probably not a very useful intermediate move. Queen a3, as now it's forcing white to give up the bishop for this knight. F takes, of course, and now these two rooks of Aronian on the f file, really huge control. White still has a very bad piece on h2, a very huge weakness on e3, and really dominating position for black here. Aronian already on the verge of winning this game. Queen e1 was played. c6 is protecting e5, d5, which was under attack, and now also gives some space to the black king. This one is protected, of course, by the bishop. Really getting a very extremely solid position. Why can't black? I mean, white played rook a5 here. Why can't white play here knight g4? Well, the reason is this rook f1 check, where white has to give up his queen for a couple of rooks. But moreover, now black has this bishop b5 move, pinning the rook and the king, winning material and the game. So rook a5 is what Carlsen played. And here really black has a quite strong move with h5, just denying this knight any possibility to going anywhere, really putting an absolute bind on white's position. And after, for instance, if white tries g4, h4, and whenever, as Magnus Carlsen stated in the press conference, whenever black gets to play a6, bishop b5, just protecting over everything, it's game over. White can't do absolutely anything, so this would be a sure defeat for Magnus Carlsen. And it is not clear why Aronian didn't play this. I mean, in the press conference, he wasn't able to explain why didn't he play this. He said it was a puzzle. Why didn't he play h5 in this position? He just went queen b3. I'm pinning the queen, but now this is giving some extra options to white, going queen a1, attacking the bishop, the a7 pawn. And Aronian plays once again not the most optimal move. In fact, he's throwing away his nice edge here by playing queen d1 check, exchanging queens. It seems the last chance to keep the advantage here was to play bishop b5, although of course it's looking very risky giving up a7 pawn. But this was, black was going away with these tactics. With advantage, he could take on e2, and if check, king c7, and if queen a5 check, king d7, well, black has b8, the promoting square of this dangerous passed pawn under control, and has won material, so this should be very good for black. But of course, looks dangerous to give up this tactical sequence on the a file. So Aronian went safer with queen d1 check, but suddenly it's after the queens are exchanged, the danger has passed for white, and it is suddenly black who has to equalize the position. Bishop must go back, g4, bishop e8, and guess what? Now white is better. Magnus once again survives a very bad position, almost a losing one, just like against Aronian himself in Sinquefield Cup, just like against Nakamura a couple of months later, couple of months before, sorry, in Zurich. So defensive resources, defensive skills, kudos to the world champion. Now rook f2, Levon just loses the track of the game, realizing he just blundered it. He could have taken b7, when after rook takes a7 checking b6, it seems he's still holding pretty decent position. But after, rook f2 has his own ideas, but he's not going to be able to do anything with this rook on f2. Now rook takes a7, rook goes to b2. He wants to take on b7, but after knight f1, he just goes with king c7. Probably he should have taken on b7, because now if rook a8 check, king c7. But of course, after knight g3, the knight is going to go to e5. Black's position looks really a miserable one, with all these pieces tied up, a pin here, a pin there, not coordinated at all. So, well, he goes after knight f1, king c7 first. Now rook a8. Now he takes b7. A check. The king goes back to b6. Now rook e7. White has really some active pieces all of a sudden, really. Rooks are really strong, attacking this bishop here right now on e8. The knight is willing to go to g3, f5. Really a huge turnover of the game. White was absolutely lost some moves ago, just before the time control, and suddenly black blundered all his advantage away and now is struggling. Rook bf2 was played. If white takes on e8, black takes on f1, so rook b8 check, king a6, and knight g3 getting away. Bishop g6, a couple of rooks are exchanged, and rook x6 is in fact winning a pawn because it's attacking c6, g6, and also h6, a skewer here. Bishop must go away, but h6 is falling, so white has even won a pawn, has a much more active position, and really both from the logical and objective point of view and from the psychological point of view, this game was absolutely going to be in white's favor, as Aronian should be feeling at this point really miserably, having blundered the game away from a winning position. King b5, rook h7, Probably not the precise plan, but it seems rook d6 was much stronger, more precise for white to keep having a strong edge. If king just moves around, knight f5, king c7, rook goes back to h6, and if the king, for instance, goes back to b6, the knight could go to d6 and improving a lot this knight's position, etc. Well, rook a7 was Magnus' place. King c4, rook a7, bishop g6, but after rook a6, the bishop, the rook must go here to protect c6. Rook a3, king b4, rook a1, black king wants to get in, rook c3, rook f1, Aronian doesn't want to exchange the rooks, he goes e6, but now the rook goes f8, what a maneuvering endgame here, Carlsen pushing, while he has the advantage, he smells the blood, he just doesn't stop pushing and punishing opponent. King d2, but knight f1 with a check, protecting e3, king d3, and now king f2. White pieces get into the game. Now white king is getting activated, protecting e3, rook e7, just waiting, rook g8. Black just cannot do any really active thing. Rook e6 back, king e1, rook f6, and now rook g7, rook e6, and rook a7. The rook goes back to the queen side once again. Black has to just wait. Rook e3 check, king c2, rook a6 attacks the pawn once again, rook c8, king e2 improving king's position, bishop back, rook a5, and this move's idea is that after king c3, knight g3, rook b8, white is able to check black on c5, king b2, and this is quite an achievement for Magnus because black king will be cut from the action on this b file, and in fact, as we will see later in the game, this is a huge point for white to take the victory. Knight h5, and black gives up his bishop for the knight. He's down a pawn, but he still expects for some tricks, for some hope with the rook back attacking the h5 pawn, but of course g4 very naturally protecting it. The one on c6 must be protected, and now white king is getting into the game while the black one is not going to be able to do anything. That's the huge difference here, apart of course from the pawn for white. Rook e6, waiting for black to go to g3 to play rook f6, and now this is a straightforward victory for white. Still some calculation must be done, but there is really no doubt that white is going to win this. The point is that white has this h4 check, and even though rook goes in with a check, king g2, the g pawn can take on h4, but this h7 pawn and the g5 pawn are protected, past pawns protect each other, and in any case, black king is a very passive here. He's not doing absolutely anything, so that's giving white a huge edge here, enough to win the game. Black took on e3, now h7, h3 check, rook king goes here. Black has to sacrifice his h pawn to get a last trick. Of course, now queening would be a huge mistake because king h1, and black is taking the queen, but of course white has other moves here. Instead of playing instead of promoting, he plays king g2, avoiding that. Rook e2 check, king g3, rook e3 check, and the king is able to go up to h4, king h4, rook e1, with the same threat of winning the pawn with rook h1 check, but king goes to g5. Rook h1, the king goes up, protecting the passed pawn, rook h4, and Magnus doesn't really care about that pawn. He takes the one on c6, e3, rook e6 going behind the passed pawn, rook takes g4 check, king h1, not allowing black to go to the h file to h4, rook goes g1, and now you can see the difference between king's activity. This king is just doing absolutely nothing, just looking at the action from the far behind b2 square, but this one is very active, supporting his own passed pawn. White takes on e3, rook h1, king g6, and this king is going to go to h8 to hide from checks, and the point is that white is going to win the pawn on e5 easily. Now rook g4, rook g5. Well, if black decides to take the one on d4, now the king goes up and the rook is on the 5th rank, the correct one to deliver this very well known, very important maneuver in rook endgames. Now rook g4 check, king h6, and Levon Aronian finally resigned after 93 exhausting moves, because if he checks on h4, very important maneuver to know in the rook endgames, the rook just blocks the check and there is no way to stop this pawn from promoting. So there it goes, the first victory for local hero and world champion Magnus Carlsen in this Norway 2014 chess tournament. A really exhausting game, a really exciting one, and very long, hard-fought battle, in which once again we see Magnus Carlsen surviving a very difficult position to overcome his opponent and finally bring back the full point home, winning his first game in this tournament. There it goes. Thanks for watching.